school. I do too. I'm actually doing a class right now myself. Right? It's just.
I'm doing 8 or 7 of them. Sorry, but who's
Yeah,
comparing?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
And working full time.
Yes, you are. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And although oddly, I'm not exactly working full time. My improv, my personal little milestone. I am going to be making 5 figures as a freelancer next year, guaranteed.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, can't really talk too much about that yet, but yeah. So it's kind of one of those. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, milestone minimum. I'm making 5 figures next year, minimum. So
well, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, but yeah, I officially started this week, but mostly when we're done here, I actually get to put in my hours this week, which is mostly watching YouTube videos and a meeting. Next week is when the work actually kind of begins, and that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. It's why I'm only doing 2 episodes next week, because I figure that's going to be between that and me going back to Calgary. I figure that's like most of my focus are going to be in those 2 places. Right. So
yeah.
But I am doing 2 interviews. One on Thanksgiving, which is going to be fun, and then I'm doing another interview Thursday, and then then Friday I go off and figure out everything and anything and everything from there, and kind of just playing things out. So. I'm going back. I get to go back and kind of just go where I'm led to be going. So
cool. Do you have a nice warm winter jacket?
Kind of. Actually, I do. It's still in Calgary. Oddly enough.
Okay. Are you going to your storage locker right away when you get there to get some of your stuff?
No, not right away. Probably within 2 weeks though of me being back.
Okay.
Yeah. I might be actually spending the first week and a bit in Canmore, actually. So.
Oh, okay. Well, if you wanted to bring me along, I can do schoolwork anywhere. Just saying. No? Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, it's no, for me, I got a place. Pretty much. I figured that out. I'm going to be meeting my roommates, hopefully on Friday. But if not Friday, like the week after for sure. And then from there, moving in is going to be relatively easy. I'll be living in the Southwest, actually, in Calgary this time around.
Oh, do you what neighborhood ish? Do you know?
McLeod 91st.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah, it's a good area. So I'll be there. Probably the first month's going to be like the odd month of me just building my shit up and still streaming and stuff. But after that, I should be good.
Yeah, of course.
I'm actually
that's awesome.
I'm looking forward to actually. I'm probably going to be selling some of the comics in my storage locker pretty much once I start getting back. I'm going to be paring down a lot of the stuff that I have there. It's interesting because for 2 years I've been kind of just on my own. Right, and I haven't had a lot of stuff, and it's weird. There's things you just don't miss after 2 years, and there's some things that you really do miss after 2 years. So,
yeah, like your random award that you got.
That one, yes. I might have 2, by the way, by the time this year is done.
Oh, exciting!
Yeah, my first Alice book. My first Alice book's up for an award too.
Oh, very cool. Well, that's fun.
It's so for me it's just like one of those things where I might have 2, but I don't know for sure if I have 2. But I am nominated. My book is nominated now, so I have a nominated book, which is plenty for me.
That's amazing, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. You don't set out to go for these awards. You're just doing stuff, and along the way, people go, "Hey, you're good at what you do. What the fuck?" Right? It's like
thank you.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. You're good at this.
If you insist.
Yeah.
You insist. Yeah.
Real quick, we should do this properly, ladies and gentlemen. This is I have said this many times, one of the most talented people I actually know. Right? It's my sister. This is you prefer Rae, right? I call you Rachel, but you do prefer Rae, right?
Which yes. So full name, obviously Rachel, but I've gone by Rae since I was 23. Or I introduced myself as Rae. But I mean, like, for people, obviously, you've known me a long time, my whole life, a little bit less than your whole life.
Hmm.
So you know me as Rachel, so whatever. But like, if I met anyone randomly on the street, yes, I would introduce myself as Rae.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for me as an artist, you'd be Rae Hope Pantalleresco or just Rae Pantalleresco.
Yep. Actually, my art, ever since high school, I've always signed it Rae Hope.
Okay, so let's do this properly here. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you one of the most talented artists I've ever met. She's an excellent illustrator, a world-class photographer. No joke, one of the best photographers I've ever seen, a great storyteller, and an amazing human being. My sister, Rae Hope Pantalleresco.
Well, how am I supposed to follow up with that? Well, thank you. That was very sweet of you. Where can I hide?
No, I don't. I don't lie. Like I've said this on plenty of shows. You are one of the most talented people I know. You're more talented than I am, right? And I don't say that in like this like, oh, I feel so insecure. No, I have a pretty big freaking ego. I really do. It's just
I don't know how you leave the house some days.
I know it's hard. It's really, really hard.
You have to fit through that door sideways and kind of like wiggle.
No, I just break walls. I just let the ego smash the wall. It's good. It builds character.
Whoever that is, I like him.
So this is Tim Niederreiter. Tim is a incredible writer. He's one of my favorite drink and draws because he actually did models. He paints models and figurines. I hope I'm saying that right, Tim. I really hope I'm saying that right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was still a really cool episode. But yes, it's one of those things where just like, but yeah, no, like it's one of those things where I can say this, and paints exactly. So Tim is cool. Tim is very, very cool. So, and thanks for coming by the way tonight, buddy. This is going to be a special one. Like I said, this is my sister. And by the way, Tim, Rachel, when you ever get to the point of you're like ready to like interview covers and stuff like that, this is a guy that probably that you would like to meet. No, he's pretty cool at that. You guys probably have some fun. He's a cool dude. So
cool. Well, hi Tim. Nice to somewhat meet you.
Yeah.
I already like you, but
this is and this is what keeps me humble, you see, because you know this is what keeps me humble because
but whatever, that's another story.
So I got to do this story once. She has actually hosted a lot of podcasts, and she actually made me sound like a goldfish in front of an audience.
Yeah, that was like one of the best things of my life. Although like you kind of hesitated a lot. Me too. Well, you looked at me funny when I said
I didn't know what to do.
Glub glub. I don't know. Whatever bubbles make underwater.
It's like
you're the only goldfish on the whole planet that can talk, and you.
I blew it. All right, never. Yeah.
You did.
Well, although the crowd's reaction was unbelievable. They looked at that. It was like, what the hell's, I don't know. I put her in charge, and this is where we ended up. It was fun.
Oh, the drawing was I still think that at some point we need to do a rematch of the drawing. So for anyone that hasn't seen it, I may dabble in drawing. My brother, this is obviously his first attempt. And before his first attempt ever, I challenged him to a drawing duel. Yeah. And I was going to be blindfolded. He could see his canvas. We drew with magic markers on canvas. And the audience got to select what we drew. So I couldn't even prepare, like practice, blindfolded, drawing, whatever. And it turned out you could still tell what I was drawing. And I feel like my drawing was still better. Left for interpretation. We can post it on Facebook later. It's still on my phone. Yeah. Yeah.
See, it is a hell of a handicap, and like I
could doing a blind contour. It wasn't that bad actually. I just kept my hand on the paper and imagined in my head because we were we did a picture of a unicorn dueling a watermelon. That's what was chosen. I'm super tempted to see if I can pull it up on my phone really quick. But and I just kept my hand on the paper and I was like, I mean, my unicorn had a really big butt and a really short torso. Really short. They really can be treacherous.
Yes.
Like, be careful. So yeah.
So Tim, you should
Speaking
find
of
Rachel. You should find Rachel on Facebook and friend her. I think you two would get along just fine.
really easy to find me. I have the same last name as my brother. And there's
It's like,
probably
done.
5 of us on Facebook. So choose the profile that looks like this mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
I
times.
grew up with
Yeah,
this.
that was by far my favorite, but mainly because shockingly in my brain my photo actually turned out really well, and yours did too. I bet you if we did it again though, I would actually have a little bit of competition. I'd still be blindfolded, I'll give you that for sure. Yeah, I'll give you that. But I'm generous.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yes.
Fair, Tim.
Tim has been a regular on my show, and I've been on his show a couple times too. So.
Oh, very cool. I like that we can see what people are typing. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, this is that's part of the fun of streaming, right? That's part of the fun of it. So it's one of those. Yeah, oh man, this is such a hoot. But no, it's one of those things where I look at the. I remember some of that stuff. It's just like wow, but no, it was really cool. She organized the show very well, and she hosted it. She asked me questions, which was cool, and it was me being on the other end, which was a lot of fun. Here though, like I said, she's now in school. So, okay, so I asked this. So you because you've been out of a week, right? So
yeah, one whole solid week. Yeah.
So, was it mostly like usually like sometimes courses in college are like here's the course outline, get lost. Sometimes it's we'll start next week. Sometimes it's here's the course outline and here's your first mega Uber assignment. It's due next week and you try not to die, right? And so, oh no, like so ACAT was notorious for this. For this, they would the first years they would literally try to kill them.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of colleges are like that. If anyone's curious, I'm going to Toronto Film School for graphic design, and it's only 1 year, so they will probably still try to kill me because it's a lot of information to learn in 1 year. But for the most part this week it was pretty chill. It was more of like so everything right now is remote, which actually one of my classmates told me today that starting January it might be in class, which I'm actually really excited about because that's why I signed up for the 1 year program, is I wanted to actually meet people face to face and get connections and all that good stuff and actually be able to like say, excuse me, WTF, my computer's not doing what yours is doing, please help. Which, by the way, I'm talking to you on my fancy new MacBook Pro. Never thought I would own one of those this soon, but here we are. I needed it for school, so therefore justified. I can't find the photo. We'll find it and post it later because it's a fun photo. This week, for the most part, it was like meet and greet. So my class is actually really awesome. Like all the people in my class, they seem to like really want to help each other and really want to like whatever. We have a stack. I didn't even know what stack was until this week. But we all chatted with each other on there, which is really helpful. A lot of the teachers were like, all right, so tell me your name and tell me about yourself and, you know, like how much design experience do you have? And I realized that I might be a little bit more of a graphic design nerd than I thought. We're watching a... Oh, shut up. And I mean that nicely. I love you. We're watching a documentary next week on the Helvetica font, and I've already watched it. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Good to know that I'm up there already. And some people, like, because of the pandemic, they've started, like, YouTube school, graphic design, decided to take it seriously and get an actual certificate. And then there's people like me that were just like, well, I should probably like do something with my life. I mean, I do have a great career, don't get me wrong. But I can tag team graphic design and being a flight attendant at the same time. So like travel and do graphic designing sounds like a pretty ideal life for me. So that's that.
Yeah, which is cool. So let's get Tim here. Yeah, first year being sick. So did they try to kill you with deadlines too, Tim? Was that what? Is that why it was so? That's why it was so tough. Some schools try to really hit you with workloads. Some schools it's a communal process. When I did the magazine course, okay,
Middle English only. Okay,
yeah,
it sounds easy.
Sounds like it.
Like every day, it's like a new language.
So did you like? Were you one of those people that read Middle English went insane? Went insane.
Oh, poetry. Oh, that's fun.
Ooh.
Maybe.
So you did go insane, and then did you do what most college people do and drink? After read the poetry. What the hell did I just read? Gulg. Repeat.
I did not know that.
No, I did not know that either. Middle English is all poetry. So, like, it's one. Before we get back to the interview with Rachel, one last question: was there any particular poet they made you read? Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't drink. Well, you live and learn, and you grow up, and then you drink. I guess.
You live, learn, and grow up, and drink. Yes. Yeah, I actually was having a chat with Dad about various kinds of boozes, and it was funny because we were talking about. Well, when I used to go to Arizona for con season, I wouldn't drink alcohol while I was at the con. I wouldn't feel it because it was going from high mountain altitude to low.
Right.
I mean, and it's bad too because again we're Canadian. Our urine has more alcoholic content than their average beer anyway. So it's just disappointing to drink something you don't even feel a buzz at. You just get bloated. And that's if you drink.
Well, that's why you drink imported beer. You did it.
Yeah,
wrong.
well, you don't always have that luxury. Sometimes depends where you're at. But yeah, no, that's what you either drink if you can. Microbreweries are the other way to go. That's your other workaround. But at the time, sometimes you just don't have that luxury, and you're like, then you just go, just give me water. Just give me water. I'm sad, but just give me water.
I feel more of a buzz from my water than I will from this beer, Budweiser. Ugh.
See, I don't feel bad now. Alice 1, my sequel is currently about 120 pages to like written, so I don't feel so bad now. 400 pages is
Huh. Very cool.
So Tim, do you want to beta read my Alice story? So, but yeah, well, shorter fiction's cool because you can make a moment feel really special. That's what makes shorter fiction really awesome. So, I promise it's Alice playing croquet in the underworld. You'll have fun. I absolutely promise it. It's croquet against Jason and the Argonauts. That's literally what it is.
No pressure, Tim. No pressure, but you're kind of a jerk if you say no.
You can refuse. You can totally refuse. And
I'd still call you a jerk. We're friends now. I don't know if you guys know it on Facebook, but
this is how Rachel treats her friend. Just so you know.
It only goes downhill from here. Downhill from here.
I'm sure he's having a laugh over at his corner of the universe. Yeah, exactly.
So the one on this side, that's mine. The one on this side, that's Josh's. I don't know if you can see it very well.
It's not the best, but you can kind of see it.
Oh, you can see it. Yeah. Not bad, but I'm gonna say for drawing mine blindfolded, it was pretty fucking awesome how it turned out.
Yes.
Thanks for laughing.
See, this is.
I knew I could count on you.
Yeah. So, yes, this is what I grew up. This is one of the reasons. Oh, thank you.
Switch without But obviously, like being blindfolded, a little bit more credit, right? Like I think I was blindfolded. I didn't even cheat.
How do you cheat? Because
holes in the blindfold?
Yeah. Yes. Of course you.
Thank you. I should have been a tattoo artist, is what you're saying. I get it. More confident.
Yeah.
You know what it is, actually, Tim? It's because when I was in high school, I had art teachers that, I don't want to say they made fun of us, but like they were often like, "Oh, you stupid artists," or like, "You stupid kids," like whatever. They didn't say stupid because they're not allowed. But I'm just an art critic, can't draw. Oh, whatever. And they used to like say like commit to your lines, and like we weren't allowed to draw with pencil. Well, we were allowed to draw with pencils, but they like looked down on us for drawing with pencils. So that's when I started drawing with like markers and drawing pens and things like that way more often. I never draw with pencils anymore. And so that's why I think I have way more confident lines, is because my teachers gave me shit when I was in high school. Thanks, teachers.
That's right. Nothing like the abuse. Nothing like
nope,
nothing like the abuse of it's not good enough to push it back. No. I actually rarely use the eraser on mine. I actually, it's an interesting tool. I never considered it as a way to actually like lighten lines in some cases, and I occasionally use it for that. But I try to avoid the eraser actually. But for me, it's for a very different reason. Dark Tower 7. So the final battle involves a drawing and the challenge, and I actually enjoyed the challenge. He had to draw the Crimson King, and he couldn't use the eraser until the very end. And I thought that was it was a challenge, and he actually enjoyed the challenge of making that drawing. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. At some point, I gotta play with Photoshop or GIMP. Like that's something I'm gonna have to play with at some point down the road. Especially since I'm going to be doing my first ever like sequential. That Dark Tower scene is awesome. Like it is an incredible. It's. I can't spoil it too much, but Dark Tower 7, when you get to that scene, it's a very interesting. It's interesting. It's an interesting final battle. Harry Potter's golden snitches were there, and the Crimson King, and then there was Roland and the artist. So. It was fun. It was really fun. So.
Going back to erasers and pencils and stuff, I did take a drawing course in ACAD at one time just to get back in the habit of doing art. And one of my favorite things that we did was we put charcoal down on paper. We had loose charcoal. So we put it down, kind of like massaged it in the paper. And then so you start off with like almost gray. And then we took our erasers and we started carving out the white that way. And then we would add more charcoal or like other graphite to add the blacks back in. And it was one of my favorite drawings that I've ever done. I actually have loose charcoal because I've always wanted to do it again, but I just haven't yet. I have the paper. I have everything. For school, like typography. Yeah, awesome. So you totally get it, Tim. For typography, they're actually making us do everything by hand because then you know properly how to make your own font and things like that. And they were like, yeah, so you're going to need some art supplies. I'm like, probably have all of them. I had to buy gray markers. That was it. That was the only thing I didn't have. So quite excellent.
I used to love, I got to see one of the old newspaper machines, and it's really cool because you actually get to put a paper together with glue and just the old document for like design and white space. And it's interesting because you have InDesign now that can do all this for you, but it's so fascinating to see how all the rules of the page came about, and you can see why certain things were the way they are. And it's like, that is so cool. Right? I don't know if I can do it that way, but I can do it this way. I mean, I'm definitely made for this time and not for that time, but it's always neat to see
I think I'm made actually for that time and not this time.
Not technological, like you prefer the older school method of stuff, not the technological.
I shoot film still, Josh, and I still have my own dark room, and I still prefer books. And when I write, like I'd prefer writing with pen and paper.
Mhm.
But I mean, like obviously, I have to learn on the computer. InDesign is Monday morning, first thing. Monday morning, Monday. I'm pretty sure InDesign is Monday for me. So
It's an
like I will
amazing
be
program.
learning all that stuff. Yeah. Oh, it totally looks like it for sure. I have the textbook to go along with it as well, if you're interested, and my Photoshop textbook as well. Speaking of which, newfound friend Tim, who uses Photoshop, I might be coming to you for some questions. You shouldn't have delved that information.
See, Tim, you made a friend for life, and she's probably just gonna ask you and heckle you and tease you.
No,
I
I
hope you
would
know what
never
you're
do that
like.
actually.
It made me the man I am today. I'm just fair warning. Help me.
Oh, geez. But yeah, yeah.
No, it's cool. No, it's cool. Like I said, at some point I'd like to get my hands on a CS program again, and maybe down the road I'll pick it up. Like for me, I'm enjoying.
They don't do programs as much anymore.
You rent them
You
on
do
cloud.
you do the subscription.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm either going to go back to Adobe, or I'm going to go to Affinity. Affinity is the other major program. It does a lot of the same things. So the Cloud Diver cover, that for me was done on Affinity by my buddy who did the cover for it. So it's an amazing program, and you can do a lot of different things that you can do on Photoshop. The thing about the Adobe software is it's non-intuitive. It comes with a lot of practice. Like you can do everything, but it's not like when I play. It's not when I play with other applications that feel very naturally intuitive, right? It doesn't fit that way at all. It's like it's here sometimes, or it's here, or it's hidden here, right? And it requires a lot more practice to stay Adobe current. Like I'm not Adobe current anymore. I haven't really been since the CS5, CS6 days, so it's been a while for me.
The good thing.
Yeah. So
Unintuitive. Yeah, for sure. I think the good thing though is, so going back a couple years when I was in Beal Art, that's when I first tried Illustrator and Photoshop, and then I didn't use them again until I worked for my friends in Calgary. And even though it might not be intuitive, if you have some knowledge, that knowledge still applies today. Like they don't change it that much. They just add features from my understanding. So
by and large, yeah, they do. They
yeah.
do sometimes I would imagine, because it just CS5 was 2007 or 2008,
Okay.
right? I would just
So
imagine
not much
that.
longer after. Yeah.
Well, there's just would be such a length. I like for me, it'd be, I've been playing with GIMP because it's free, right? And that's what it's just what the program's called. It's got a lot of Photoshop's features on there, but it's a poor man's version of it basically. But it
Okay.
does a lot. It has the same kind of concept. You figure out some of what the basics of GIMP. You can play with some of the basics of Photoshop. They do play well together that way. So I wouldn't be completely out of practice, but I wouldn't say a full beginner again, but I'd be someone with some knowledge but needs practice, I think would be the way to describe me.
Yeah, fair. And I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. You could
I'd have to try. I have never. Yes. Oh God. I have tormented people with some of those pictures too.
Well, in all honesty, I kind of like the fact that they're really poorly done. Like that's part of the charm to those cards for me. But yeah.
So Adam's Reese came to me after we had coffee. It's like, those are terrible pictures. Like, yes. I can't imagine much worse. Could you just imagine the face of Donald Trump on those pictures instead? And to which he looked at that for a second, thought about that for a minute, goes, I'll never sleep again. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. It's like, yeah, could always be worse. Could always be worse.
That's nice of you.
And Um, but yeah, I mean, watching them, it would just traumatize you the first time. I remember it traumatized me a little bit. Oh wow, Lovecraftian Trump. So he'd be he'd be even more ghoulish than what he is now. Yeesh. He's already kind of like an undead zombie disguised as an orange pumpkin. So I mean that's how I when I look at Trump, that's what I see. I could be wrong, but that's how I see.
Yes.
He's like a pumpkin zombie. That's how I describe it. It's like I think he's dead but doesn't know it. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. It's just that's we all get old. I'm sure one day I will look like an undead zombie waiting to die to myself when I'm like 80 or 90. I think that's a normal thing, ish. Right? Sometimes a sandworm, absolutely. So I've been asking various women this question. I'm going to ask you the same question because it has come up a few times ever since I drew that skull. I've noticed this. Women like skulls. I've noticed this. So so I asked every woman this question because why do you like skulls in particular? What is it about the skulls?
Do you want to know the interesting thing about I never started buying myself skull stuff. When skulls first started, I was in the punk scene when I was in high school-ish, kind of. So lots of my friends were wearing them. And when I was and I decided I wasn't going to. I was hipster before it was cool, and not saying whatever, but like if everyone else was doing it, I wasn't doing it. So I just was like, not doing skulls, whatever. And in my early 20s, a lot of people, like different random people, would buy me things with skulls on them. And they're like, this reminded me of you. I feel like this is something you would wear. And I was like, I guess I'm a skull person now. And so I've been dabbling with skulls ever since. From a drawing perspective, actually, when it comes to like when in school when we practiced shading and stuff, skulls, like skeletons and stuff like that, are for some reason one of the funnest things I like drawing. So in that way, but it has nothing to do with the fact that I wear them or whatever.
No, it's just something like I had this like big giant thought. I understand like my ancestors a little bit better now. I always wondered why like the German like the more barbaric sides of our cultures, our nature, they would like take the skulls of their enemies. And I had this like big giant epiphany. Now I get it now because their significant others like skulls. So it's just like that was just their way of just like impressing their significant other. Here's the skull of our enemies, baby. Here you go.
Well, to be honest with you, do you know the painting where there's the man that's thinking?
Mm-hmm.
So in that painting, there's a skull there. For some reason, in my brain, when I think of skulls, I think of that painting, and therefore I think of wisdom. Mm-hmm. I don't think of the diamonds of the Middle Ages.
Yes.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah. By the way, Bookmaster Tim, I just gotta say, Tim has added quite a bit of fun commentary to this conversation. We haven't gotten to the drawing yet, and it's been great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, it's just something I've noticed. Like I joke now with women I date. Do you prefer flowers or skulls? Right.
Right.
Because it's less like because some women really really dig the skulls, and some people really really dig. I find skulls are actually the more popular thing than the flowers, and it's like I have to unlearn some stuff now, and I have to kind of relearn some stuff, or I'm just into really gothic chicks, one or the other.
Could be into the gothic chicks. Speaking of you dating, you haven't told me any of this.
No. I haven't.
That awkward moment.
I haven't actually. No.
No.
This show has made it very easy for me to talk. That'd be interesting, Tim. See, I don't ask chocolate or skulls. I just usually bring both because when women don't like to choose between both of those, so you just give them both.
No, that's stupid.
Yeah, exactly. See, can't win. So I just give them both.
You wouldn't win.
Yeah.
It would be a disappointing present. Where's the chocolate, or where's this? Well, I guess, to be honest with you, I would pick chocolate over skulls any day.
Yeah, but you would prefer both, right?
Like, no, give me the chocolate. That's fine.
Okay, cool.
I'm picky. Like, I like good chocolate, so it's gonna be pricey. So, no,
that's fair.
Yeah.
No, like one of the things about this show is I really have no problems talking to women at all anymore, and I have found that for whatever reason, it has worked to get me getting attention from the opposite. Like, who knew talking to women actually gets you points? Who thought of this? But it's honestly, it's really that simple. It's not hard. It's just, are you willing to talk and are you willing to listen? And if you're willing to do both, like, doesn't mean the date's going to work out and happily ever after, but you do come away with some really good friends. And it just, again, just being yourself and just being willing to listen. And honestly, most of the really hard stuff about dating a woman is nailed down. Now, again, long lasting, making a relationship work, I have no good answers there. I haven't figured that out yet. But date can be a lot of fun if you just talk and are willing to listen.
The second part, the listening, that's all I got. Highlight, bold, neon lights, Batman symbol in the sky. That's all you need to do.
No, that's really what it comes down to. You listen, you pay attention, and because that again, you have to be I find you have to be kind of confident. You gotta be yourself. But at the same time, it's like, if you're not willing to listen, they're not going to care. If you are willing to listen, you're paying attention. You got to be both. You have to be assertive enough where they're not. Where I have found that he's not just going to blow away at the breeze. They don't. Women. I find women generally don't like that, but they don't want to not be ignored either, right? Or you're just there for one thing, right? Just
depends on the girl.
And just pay attention and talk and listen and know when to shut up. It's surprisingly.
And bring chocolate.
Yes. Or vanilla. Sometimes vanilla.
Or chocolate. Yep.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah. You know,
so I am expecting phone numbers of people that I can call and harass and make sure they're good enough for you. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm smiling. There's no joke.
No, Tim, it's here's the thing.
See how Josh bypassed that? I saw that.
No. I'm not ignoring you. I know I'm not escaping this conversation, but this is a live podcast. You're gonna have to keep moving along at some point. Yes, I don't really talk about my dating life on here too, but that's just it. Here's the it's easy. It's scary to go on a date. Honestly, it is very scary to go on a date because you really don't know what you're going to get, what you're going to expect. And sometimes it's great. Sometimes you get a nightmare. And so it's easy to get really nervous, especially if you really like the person you're with. Right? So like the when to shut up, thing, it's like, Tim, you're a funny, sweet, charming dude. You really are. Right? Just let yourself be that funny, sweet, charming.
I think Josh is trying to date you.
That's what I do. I help people. That's what I do. It just take a minute, breathe. It's like, I'm really nervous right now. Whoop. Like that's it. Like I'm really, really nervous right now. And when you realize you're in that anxious moment, just pause. Just say, and they ask what's going on. Just say, I'm just a little nervous right now. So actually, it might even score you more points, honestly, because you're just being honest about the situation. It's like I'm a little nervous. Woo, just need a minute, get your breath. And then just continue from there. Yeah, like I say, I'm certainly no Casanova, but I have figured out. Like I said, just that knowing when to shut up and listen. It's a big part of it, right? So yeah, as long as you're being transparent, you can literally say anything, just about, and it's fine as long as you're being honest and authentic about it. It goes a very long way.
Sorry, my brain is like, all the things not to say on a date. You look fat today. Go fuck yourself. Don't say those things.
There are see if there are ways you can literally get away with anything depending on how you say it. It really like
if someone called me fat, I'd be like, bye.
no, it's fair. It's fair. But I've gotten away with saying some things because the day has gone really well. Like that I think under different it's tone, there's a lot to it. Like obviously, you look fat. No, I don't like what you got to say. No, I really am not interested in you talking. If you want to kill a date, that'll do it real quick. Mm-hmm. Right? Context is everything, number one. But number two, it's also you have to be authentic, right? You have to be real about what you think and what you feel and how you do it. I have gone into a date and I'm known 5 minutes into the date. I'll still do the date because it's not like I don't want to hang out. I can still maybe get a friend out of this. Some dates I've known 5 minutes into a date where it's like, this isn't going to work long term. This is going to end up in a romantic situation. It's just, we're not in the same wavelength at all. And then there's some dates I know, how there's been dates that weren't dates that became dates just because the chemistry was there, right? And it was just one of those things where you felt it and you just were smart. I was just smart enough to go with it. You can feel those things really early on. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you can't, if it's not working out well, you can still get a really good friend out of it, and you can still have a really good time in spite of the fact that like this is not going to end with a goodbye kiss or more. This is just going to end up, but we might still get a friendship out of it, and I'm good with that sometimes. And then there's other situations like this could really go somewhere if I really play my cards right. It's like, and then sometimes like, does she want me to play the cards right? And sometimes, almost every time, women will let you know that on some level where they want this to go. So it's an interesting balance. But again, it's just paying attention and listening. Oddly enough, it sounds so fucking simple, but it's amazing how many people don't do it. She's shrugging. She's shrugging. Also, to be fair, I don't know much about your dating life either.
No, you sure don't. Yeah. The only thing I could say is like, because I've been this asshole before too, where not intentionally, but like I've did definitely go on a date once where the guy was interested for sure and I wasn't, and then I did play the but we could still be friends card, and that's the last time I will ever do that, when it's obvious that he's interested, wants more, because that has never worked out fair in my world, because I feel like I've almost was like unintentionally leading him on, or like false hope or something of that nature. That wasn't my intent at all, but I've learned from that and a couple other experiences that if it's like not going to go anywhere, just be like, okay, bye. Like, that's it. Like we're not continuing this conversation because it's potentially not going to be fair for you in the him, whatever, in the long run. And likewise, like I think if I went on a date with a guy that I was really interested in and he only wanted to be friends, I'd be like, no, like my hopes are set up too high and it wouldn't be fair for me either. So I would.
I think here's the thing. Like I'm not I'm not going on with the rest of the date to lead them on. Exactly. What I
Oh no,
no.
and I didn't either at all.
Yeah. So I don't really feel like
I didn't either.
What I've learned is you declare your boundaries early. Like you
Yeah, I
you,
did
do,
that too.
you declare your boundaries early, and at that point, it's up to the person. If they want to keep going, if they want to just keep going, that's fine. They know where the boundary is. If they cross the boundary at that point, right, then it's on them, right?
Yeah, and I get that, but I still I don't know. It's never, in my experience, it's never worked out well.
Okay.
Uh, and more so just, I'm not a big fan of like giving someone, uh, I'm so tempted to give examples, but like I'm not, like, cause there was a guy at Canada Post. So when I was furloughed, everyone, I worked at Canada Post. I was letter carrier. It was a lot of fun. Recommend that job. It's great. And there was a guy that was there that, like, I set clear boundaries. I was like, nope, like this is not going to be anything more than just friends. Like, I don't have those feelings for you. I don't feel that way. And he kept like pushing the boundaries. And I get it, it's on him and whatever, but it just sucked, like constantly being like, no, like this isn't going anywhere. And I felt like I was I don't want to say re-breaking his heart because I don't think it was that extreme or whatever. He fell for me pretty hard actually,
Oh,
and he told me that too. But I just it sucked. Like it just sucked, and it didn't feel like an actual friendship because I kept having to like push him back and being like,
hmm.
no, like we're not going there. Like this isn't whatever. And so, and I've always been super upfront. I grew up around someone that liked to lead men on, and I've never been that girl. I was like, I saw that and I was like, nope, that's not who I'm going to be as a human. So I tend to be very upfront and being like, yes, this can go somewhere. No, this won't go somewhere, right away. To the point where like there's no mistaking it either. So it's not like this guy could have thought, well, maybe there's a hope. Like there was definitely clear boundaries. This is not happening. And I was just like, no, like I just won't do it again. If we both have the friendship vibe, that's awesome. We both have the dating vibe, that's awesome. But if we're not on the same field, I won't do it.
It's funny because I've yeah, all but one of my exes I'm friends with still. I still talk to all of them on some level, right?
Right.
Um, which I think is interesting because again, feelings change in some cases, and and that's fine. I For me, this has always been the thing for me. As long as I have a clear idea where the boundary is, I don't cross
Mm-hmm.
it. It's just one of those like I can legitimately just be like, okay, this is where we're at. That's cool. Um, Even if there is a part of me that kind of does want more, right? I
Mm-hmm.
tend not to really. I don't push because it's not like it. It's not something I want. That like if I get the opportunity to be intimate with somebody, I'd rather because they really want to be intimate. It means a lot
Of
more,
course. I mean, that's the
right?
best
Right.
way
And if I'm
possible.
pushing and I'm pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and like I've seen this too. I've seen where someone will get pushed and to the point where they'll just do it just to get left alone afterwards too. I've seen that. I've seen a lot of that kind of thing. It's just like I can be friends with a woman, right? You know, hit on them as a friend, not even like seriously, just goof around, and not have it mean anything
Yeah,
because
of course. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right, and I can live with that, right? Um, Again, one of my best friends in Calgary is yeah, I've been friends with her for nearly 10 years. You know, um, you know, I don't know if we're ever gonna ever date each other, and I'm okay with that. Actually, it's just one of those things where our relationship has evolved to such a point um, that I really like what we have. I'm not sure we'll ever go past that point, And
And I mean, that's fine. Like, I mean,
yeah,
look at like me and Kirk, me and RJ, my friend
yeah,
Dave.
exactly.
Like, we are like my friend Nolan. Like, I have so many guy friends. A lot of them are like married or partnered up now, which is great too. Like, lifelong guy friends, that's not an issue for me. But it's when, uh, it's the issue is just when like the expectations are, or the hopes, I guess, are like drastically different and they don't level out. I won't.
Yeah,
I just don't think it's fair.
I, I understand. It's sad because, like I said, some guys can do it, I guess, and maybe some guys just
Yeah.
can't, right? And that's,
Well, and
I
I
mean,
think it depends on how much you like the person too. Like, the guy at Canada Post, um, like he admitted to me that like it wasn't just a silly crush. Like he actually genuinely liked me, like wanted something like super serious, and I was just like, I don't reciprocate. And like it's not that you're not a great guy. Like he honestly was like probably one of the kindest humans on the planet. One of those guys that you're just like, why are you still single? It makes no sense. But like I just didn't feel it for
yeah,
him, and I didn't like I'm yeah, not gonna fake that either, obviously, or like hope it grows. Like I don't think that ever happens either. So I was just like, nope, this is not gonna happen. Unfortunately, like we have the same, fortunately, I don't know, whatever, but we have the same like music taste and things like that. And so we talked about maybe like going to concerts together when things opened up. Um, and like this is how nice this guy is. Okay, so I worked on my birthday this year, and he found out because my supervisor sang to me over the PA, happy birthday, and I was as red could be, apparently. Also trying to hide as much as I could, but I couldn't. There was nowhere to go, so I just stood there, like, feeling super awkward. Secretly loving the attention, but still feeling really awkward.
hmm
And I actually was delivering mail to this guy's like house. Like I was doing his the route that his house was on that day. And so he before he went to work or like whatever, he went to Tim Hortons. He got me a Tim Hortons card, he got me a lottery ticket, and he put it on his mailbox and he put for the mail lady Rachel. Because I went by Rachel there because of my legal name, blah blah blah. I want to get paid. Um, and although people knew me as Ray, but he didn't catch on. Anyways, whatever. So then I got like a birthday card from him, happy birthday, whatever. Like that kind of a nice, super sweet, super thoughtful guy. And he just did it because it was the nice thing to do, you know? And it wasn't until like I went up to him after and I was like, was that you? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, thank you. That was really sweet. And because I was still really new and I felt like a chicken with my head cut off or something. I don't even know. Super overwhelmed, that's for sure. Still at that point. So it was like a really nice thing to happen, and then we started talking, and then whatever, and then I was just like, no, like I no. Anyways, so like he's that kind of a nice guy.
no, it's cool.
Other than that,
I made a
single. I'm
point.
kidding.
I made a point when I was working at Purelator to avoid working on my birthday. I didn't want to deal with it. Just
Well, I didn't have a choice with Canada Post, but with the airline, I always bid a week vacation on or around my birthday so I can have my birthday off.
mhm. Yeah, no, it
Mhm.
was one of those. It was one of those things where I'd gotten to the point where I got in tenure. First couple of years, I didn't mention my birthday at all. Just publicly, I just avoided it. And
Right. Did you
just
mention it on
avoided
here?
what?
I know you did on Facebook, but did you mention it on here too?
No, 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 no.
Oh. Well, for everyone, it was my brother's birthday on the 4th. He turned 40.
it did.
He's older.
That's right. That's right. It's okay. It's okay though. I don't. I to be very honest with you, I don't feel. Yeah, I really don't feel that much older or different. I'm very
Yeah.
fortunate. I'm still very fit. I'm still.
Mhm.
I can pretty much do everything I did in my 20s. Everything. No, and mentally I'm sharper than I was. I don't quite have the stamina, or so I recover a little slower than I did when I was in my 20s. But that's about it. Like I'm still healthy. I still do my stuff. I'm, I don't have a weight problem. I don't have any heart. Yeah, I don't look 40 at all, right? if I cut my hair, I go like I'll be like I'll look late 20s, early 30s, and I'll probably be that way for at least another 5 years. Now, as white hair or maybe less hair on the top of my head starts to happen, I'll start looking a little older. But
not necessarily though, because there's guys that I mean, they lose their hair. I mean, our uncle lost his hair quite young, but I didn't ever think that made him look old. Like, yeah. And what you meant by the haircut and the whatever is if you're properly groomed, that's what you were saying. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But no, like I think it's all to do with the face, and I also think it's the attitude as well.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Like I still wake up every day kind of in like the same vibe I've had since I was 25. The only difference now is, again, I have an ego, but I'm confident that I'm going to succeed at what I'm going to do. And that confidence is...
Everyone needs an ego. And like, yeah. There's nothing wrong with I tease you for it. I have an ego. My ego, I think, sometimes is bigger than yours. But...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
What you're talking about. But like, I feel like as an artist you need one, or someone who's self-promoting in any way, shape. Thank you, Tim. I will take that mask. I don't even know what it is, but I'll take it.
I cracked it.
But like, but everyone needs an ego, like you, and it's okay to have confidence in yourself. I think so I took guitar lessons when I was in my early 30s, and my favorite thing, well, my guitar teacher's still awesome. We're friends on Facebook. Like, he's a good human. One of my favorite things about him was the fact that he knew that he was a good guitar player. Sorry, like he's actually ridiculously talented. He knows it, and he's okay to talk about it. I was like, that is probably one of the most confident things I've ever seen in my entire life. Because most people like I have a false humility where I don't want to, stop, or they make a joke about it. But like, I feel like with him, like you could say, you're really good at guitar, and he would say, thank you. And then and accept it. And I'm just like, that is like life goals,
No, it's no. Okay. So you need an ego in two things. I've talked about ego on the show before. You need an ego because you have to believe as a creative, whatever your creative is that you're good.
Mm-hmm.
That you're good. You have to have it, right? If you don't have, if you don't have it, right? What tends to happen is you sell yourself short. I literally have seen it over and over and over again with so many talented people, in that they are incredibly gifted at what they do. They don't believe it, and I'm not entirely sure why. Well, actually, I do know why a little bit. It's one of the hardest things as a creative you have to accept is when people notice your work and notice the fact that you're good at what you do. And one of the hardest things about that, and this is imposter syndrome 101, is you're like, well, why am I getting noticed, right? And most people don't really honestly look at that seriously. And that is, your stuff is good. You are good at what you do. Absolutely. That is such an important thing there, Tim, what you're saying, and trusting yourself and hardened skills. Recognize how you got to where you're at. Recognize the work you put into this, right? And don't treat it like anyone can do it. I mean, there's a reality. Like, anyone can choose to be great at anything. It's the truth. It's the absolute truth. But the thing is, the work it takes to day in and day out do something. That is a testament to you. That's the real skill. It's the fact that you're able to stick it out and go out and do something, right? And to the point where you are good and you can visibly see it. I feel it sometimes when I write some prose. I feel it when I feel it when I'm on here and I'm talking to people. I know this is good. I don't need an affirmation from the aether that this is good. This is good. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to be. I can feel it, and there's no apologies for it, right? It's just the way it is. And I find that with a lot of people, that getting to that moment is once you hit that moment, nothing stops you, and that's where your ego is really good. The other part is when you negotiate your price. Your ego is a requirement there because you don't want to be ripped off. Two, you got to recognize that your work is valuable, and not honestly your ego is what's going to push that. It's not. Now you're never going to be to the point where I am the king shit. You get to that point, and everybody else is beneath. Like we get to that point, your head's a little too big and it needs to get popped, and the universe will at some point give you a balloon, and you scare it. Go. What was that? That was my ego. It took a beating right there, and it needed to take a beating right there. But
so I would challenge that.
Go.
One name, Kanye West.
What?
I said I would challenge that. One name, Kanye West.
Oh, so actually, okay, let's talk Kanye West. Kanye West is shrewd, and he's a good businessman. Here's why.
Yeah.
Here's why, though. So you get to a certain point, where you're going to be, quote unquote, polarizing or controversial. So for him, living at large, going off the deep end, talking about being in his own little world, or seem like he's in, and some of that is real because you have to buy into it at some level. But there's another part of him too. I mean, Howard Stern did it first. Howard Stern would go on, do shock jock stuff and do all this weird and wacky shit that would piss people off, and some people loved him for it. And what it turned out was that the people that were pissed off at him were the ones that listened to him the most. They would listen to him like an hour longer than the people that liked him. People that liked him would listen to him for like 30, 40 minutes, right? I mean, I don't know. Any guy that puts that, a countdown for someone to become legal to actually date is probably not exactly the highest rated person that you'd want to deal with. But the fact is, he knew exactly what he was doing when he was being this polarizing. Kanye is the same way. Just, you go out there, you be this person that's going to make an impression, and that's what he goes for. He doesn't go and try to be, and he doesn't have to fake it too much, right? But he also understands, like, where you really make money, if you're just interested in the money, pick a very controversial topic and polarize people with it. It's what happened, and if you're good at that, people talk about you. The master was Donald Trump.
Right. So to clarify my comment, I actually do think that Kanye in his own right is talented. And I think whatever, but he has a really big ego, and I've just never seen it deflated. I've seen him, like, obviously he has health issues and stuff that he's dealing with right now, but it doesn't sound like I've listened to a couple interviews with him, and it doesn't sound like it's affected his ego at all. It's given him more depth, for sure, which I think is like super crucial for every human, but I don't think it's affected his ego.
You don't necessarily affecting ego is not. He had a healthy ego beforehand. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
he did.
And so I interviewed Jonas Saul. Jonas Saul is an international best-selling author. He's a very nice guy. He's a very humble guy. Very cool dude. He has this great ability. He has this great ability to look at his ego and be very honest about it. And that's what helps him maintain success. I look at someone like, I had the pleasure or displeasure of meeting Rob Liefeld at Comic-Con, and guy I bought a comic of his, he wouldn't even just say hi. He was just busy. He was talking on his phone and deal with the likes of me. And I met, that same weekend, I met George Perez. George Perez is one of the most successful comic guys of all time, but he's also one of the most humblest, sweetest guys you'll ever meet. Like, he's super, super nice. Right? And they both, so I've seen people who will take success and be like, okay, I'm not going to change myself in any way because this works and I got to this point for that. I'm not going to let this is not really what I'm doing. It's like, okay, I have an award for my poetry now. I'm a nominated poet. I'm an award-winning podcaster. I have no problem admitting those things. But if I'm going to be very honest, I didn't do this to get those things. They came as a result of the work I was doing. So for me, it didn't really. It's great to have, but even if I didn't have those things, I didn't have those accolades, or I didn't have anything like that, I still would have published the sequel to Alice. That was always the plan. It was cool that it got recognized. That's amazing. That's an amazing thing. It's cool that it got recognized. But I'm still going to be producing more stuff. And if that gets nominated, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. I'm still going to produce stuff. This year, the podcast wasn't nominated for anything this year. First time in a long time. So what? Still doing it. I've done more episodes this year than I've ever done in the past. And it's showing up in other ways. And what I realize is that your accolades and awards and your accomplishments that people can see, they're not important. They're nice, but they're not important. That's just an affirmation of kind of what you're doing. Right? The awards are a reflection of the work you've done. And what matters is that you keep going with the work. You don't have to change anything because you're on the right path. If you weren't on the right path, these things wouldn't happen. And even if these things weren't happening, other things would show up and indicate that you're doing something okay. And that's kind of how I see it. Like, you don't need to actually have a big. It's cool that I've gotten the attention I've gotten, but I still would have done it even without that attention. It's just nice that it's there, right? And I think be grateful. I'm grateful for it, and it's important to be grateful for those things when they do come. But you don't need it to change who you are as a person, right? You just keep going, because I think maybe it is the hardest thing. You keep going in that. You keep going in that space. If you can find a way to keep going and keep being that person you are, you can't be stopped, because you're not in your way anymore. And you use this stuff to get yourself better business deals. But outside of that, you just keep going and doing your thing.
Right.
Just my thoughts. That's my 2 cents on it.
See, and I've never. Yeah. This whole doing art for money, although I know it's like a lot of people's dreams, like, it's never even been my. I just can't not create. Like, I don't have the ability to live a life where I don't create. So it doesn't matter what I do for work. I will always find time. I mean, I always have. I've never really, except for like the few art shows I've done in Calgary and whatever, like I have a shit ton of drawings and paintings in my house that I'm like, man, no one's ever seen them, and probably no one ever will. Which is an interesting thing for me too.
And if that's all you want, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
Right? There's nothing wrong with that. So I had a comic book creator who's been doing comics for 20 years on the show last week, and she's done okay for herself. Very, very good. But she's never. And she says it was always about the art. But what she wasn't saying, and I picked up on this very quickly, was she wanted to try. Right? She wanted to really try. And I told her, and this is what I tell anybody. If your goal is just to do it for the sake of doing it, nothing else, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But any part of you that wants to go for more, whatever that little part of you is, right, you owe it to yourself to find out. Because you're always going to wonder. And ironically, one of your friends taught me this, gave me one of the most important lessons of my life. And name you haven't heard in years. Shannon Campbell.
As soon as you said one of your friends taught me the most important whatever, I was like, it's Shannon. I know
Yeah, of course
Shannon.
it is.
Anyways.
Yeah, of course it is. I liked her, and I should have said something earlier, and I didn't. And honestly, I don't mistakes I've made. I don't dwell on them. Regrets? Oh yeah, I dwell on a lot of them. They hurt.
Really?
Oh yeah, the things I didn't, because the things I didn't do bother me a lot more than the mistakes I make. Making a mistake,
you don't consider things that you don't do like a mistake and then just learn from that and move on?
It's not the same, because it's the reason why. It's the reason why. If I make a mistake, like a legitimate mistake, right? I screwed up. I messed up. The thing is, I tried. Right? That's the thing. That's the thing, right? Right? I never, when I had the opportunity to try, I didn't. And I never been able, I never want, I can fail. I'm okay with failure. I'm okay with the mistakes. I'm not okay if I know it's something I should do, or should at least try to do. I am not okay with not trying. I have to try. I have to at least say, okay, I did it. Now I can choose to quit afterwards. I can choose to walk away afterwards. I can choose to, say, you know what, this isn't fun. Bail. All right, bail. By the way, the other rule is don't quit when it's not fun. Don't quit because it's hard. That's the other thing too. If it's hard, it's okay too, right? Sometimes it makes it even better, but it has to be fun. But yeah, no, like if I didn't try, and I should have tried, and I didn't, and that like things like that, I don't have many. I do not have many, but things like that, oh yeah, they hurt a lot more than any mistake I've ever made.
See, I think like one of the hardest things I've had to learn in life is to forgive myself.
Yeah.
For lots of things. I have a few regrets, I guess. But even then, like I've just forced myself, for my own sanity's sake, to learn to forgive myself for the false beliefs I've had in my past that have held me back.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge for me. Because I might have a healthy ego now, but as you are aware, I have not always had a healthy ego.
Oh, yes.
And that held me back from a lot of life. A lot of life. And there's a lot of normal things that high schoolers and like people in their 20s did that I never participated in because I never thought I was good enough. And I never thought other people would see good in me. I mean, if you don't see it in yourself, other people definitely won't, right? So you put off that vibe. So there's a lot of life that, I mean, I still, I guess, because as I'm talking, I'm like, oh no, I still feel it a little bit. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I remind myself it's those things that have made me who I am now and have taught me like the lessons I needed to be where I am now. So I'm like, can I really regret them? You know, like, yeah, I can regret, XYZ, but at the end of the day, like it didn't happen. There's nothing I can do about it now except to give myself the gift of being like, all right, well, shit happens or didn't happen. But should said opportunity present itself again, or should whatever, I'm going to do it.
I learned a different lesson, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Like I do, like, again, I understood why I didn't, right? And I have forgiven myself for it. But it's like those things I felt, those things I've experienced, I use them sometimes to push myself forward.
Yeah, but
Because,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah, right. Sometimes I'll remember what that feels like. It's like, do I ever want to feel like this again? It's like, no.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And like, and therefore, like, I use it to benefit me. And
Sure.
because I'm using it to benefit me, it's a lot easier for me not to hold it as regret, but to hold it as a marker. Does that make sense? Like a bookmark in my life where I'm like, oh yeah, I've been down this way before and I was scared or I was whatever it was. And I fucked up because I didn't. And I don't want to say I didn't again. So therefore,
Mm-hmm.
I grab that bookmark and then I propel myself forward.
Yeah. No,
But I've learned to forgive myself and just let go, like as much as I can, I guess, because as I'm talking, I'm like, no, I still feel it, but
well, no, you always feel those. You always will feel those on some level. That's kind of like my mistakes. I've done some stupid shit, like some really really stupid shit, but I don't feel guilty about any of the stupid things I did. I'm just like, well, you live once, you're going to make these mistakes, you're going to do all kinds of stupid things as time goes on, and it's okay, right? I can deal with my my ability to as I've said, I'm a fuck up, and I say that in like in a gentle way, but it's like I make mistakes all the time and I live with it. But like a regret feels different. A regret feels different because again, it's one of it's the part that really that you feel is that you never know what would have happened. For all I know, and probably would have been the case. And looking back, you know, me and her never would have worked out. But I'll never actually know that because I never did it. Right. And that's the thing, right? So I learned that lesson, and since that point in my life, like I can honestly say that I haven't done a lot of things people in their 20s or 30s. I don't regret that either because I've had a crazy ass life. I've chased my dreams and I've gone everywhere and I've just let things go and I'll let what happened happens, right? And that's just who I am. So I haven't done things in anything resembling an order a lot of people do it in. But I don't regret that because this is the life I chose. Right? So that's kind of like that's me. It's like I chose this. I didn't no one dragged me in. So skull on a stick. What do you think?
Fascinating.
Yeah. I just threw random symbols on there just and giggles.
Okay. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's a very big stick.
What?
I said it's a very big stick.
Yes, it is. But no, like that's it. Like I've lived my life. Like I think honestly, there's like a handful of regrets in my life, handful. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, Tim. I'm glad you liked my skull, right? But that's just it. Like for me, it's just a handful. It's not like a life or like and I almost feel like yeah, they're great learning lessons, but I mean but they feel different than a mistake, like an actual mistake does, right?
For sure. I guess yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. And like to go back to my life as well, like I mean this is where like we're obviously siblings, so that also helps, but like your and my life is also very similar in the sense that like we didn't do the stereotypical shit per se. I'm going back to school and I'm 38. And like I love that I'm going back to school now. I've already had a great career and I'm still going to continue with that career because I'm crazy and I want to. But not many people that I know that are Canadian can say they've traveled to everywhere in Canada. Most people that I know haven't traveled as much as I have.
Mhm.
Um, and not just like going to all-inclusive resorts. Like to me, that is a vacation for sure, but it's a different kind of vacation. Like usually when I travel, I go, I'm either visiting friends or like I'm buggering off and I'm like doing things and learning a culture and seeing history and like to me that's traveling.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate that. Like I got to see where Oma grew up. I got to see like meet our family, things like that in Germany, which was really important to me. I've been to South Africa and I've seen the effects of the after effects of apartheid, and I got to like hold a child that like just needed a hug. Like I don't know how else to word it. Uh but it was a moment that definitely changed my life. There was more than one. Like but like South Africa was actually the one thing that I've done in my life that has changed it for the far better for sure. Um, so like I've done a lot of like when I look back on my life, I'm like I've done a lot of really cool shit, and I feel like I'm a really well-rounded human, in a lot of ways. But there's still some things that I'm like, man, I've yet to experience that, and I really want to, you
Yeah,
know. But I guess that's like everyone in life, right? It's just I guess in that way, you and I are similar, in that we've just done things a little bit out of order,
we didn't have
so to speak, typical order.
yeah. Well, I had to unlearn some stuff Dad taught me. Some um, love Dad, but I mean there are some
Of
things
course.
about him that I'm just never going to be that person, and that's probably for the best. Um, there are something, but I had to unlearn some of that stuff. But like for me, like as crazy as I think the next few years are going to be, there's a big part of me that would actually love to, meet somebody, fall in love, do the family thing. I wouldn't actually be against that, right? If
Right.
if the right if the right circumstances came up, right? Um, right. I'm not sure they're going to, but I'm not going to say never. I'm not going to say it'll never happen either.
Oh, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
in all honesty, Josh, like I believe that if there's something that's in your heart that you want, like genuinely want, I think it's out there for you. I
Oh,
really
absolutely.
do.
I do
Like,
too.
um, so if that is something that you want, like it's out there for you. And I think like, not to go into like crazy beliefs or whatever, but like whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, like I sometimes feel like those desires like uh, if our desires were a basket, let's say, desires like wanting your own family starts to like kind of like creep up to the top of the basket and gets your attention a bit more as like the universe, God, whatever, is like, okay, it's time for this to happen. This is a good time in your life, or this is I'm going to start to prepare you for this, or I'm going to start opening doors for this, or whatever. Like it's I don't even know like the right
Yeah.
verbiage or whatever, but I think like shit like that pops up when it's meant to, like
Yeah.
in your heart first before it manifests, if you will, outward.
Oh yeah. Like from that perspective, I'm actually very grateful that I did have that relationship with Giselle I had just for that reason.
Right,
It made me consider that in a way I never would have considered before, right? And
right,
um, you know, I think in you know looking back, I'm glad things went the way they did with us. Um, but I'm glad also like it opened my heart in a way that I never would have imagined it could have been opened as, and that's actually I think a very cool
right.
thing, right? And
Oh, it totally was. Yeah.
and if I had never had that experience, I never would have considered it, right? So it's one of those things where I do think things do happen at their own place in their own time when you're ready for those things to happen. They don't happen again. There's no life, there's no rules. Like, there is literally like no rules in life. There is just, we show up and things happen, and how we take these things and what we do in those situations, in those moments in time, that says who we are. And that I believe. I think in a very weird sense, I almost think in one sense, nothing, what happens in the world in one very real way doesn't matter. And that sounds like
Yeah,
really
no, I agree
crazy,
with that.
but it's like it's
No,
not really about what
no, I
happens in the world. It's about what we do. It's about what we do in the time we have, because There's very little in this life we have control over. There's very very little, and
yeah.
um, trying to have that like epiphany, or or try to take control or be mad about how it is a futile thing, because life is just going to do as damn well pleases, and the grand scheme of things, we're just not that important. Grand scheme. That doesn't mean though that you know, with what I found, it's like, it's not that this good thing happened to me or this bad thing happened to me. It's what I did with that good thing that happened to me, or that bad thing that happened to me. That's going to be about who I am as a person a lot more than uh, than anything else I do or say, or anything else of that nature, you know. So that's what I think. That's what I've seen, right?
See, and I think it's a paradox of both. I
Yeah.
think that it doesn't matter, but at the end of the day, it really does matter. And
Mm.
I think there's different levels of levels is the wrong word. There's different buckets of self growth. Self growth. There we go. English is so hard.
Words are hard.
And
It's okay.
I think sometimes it is about that. It's about your reaction and like, like this happened, whatever this is. Someone gave you a peanut butter sandwich for lunch. What do you do with it? Someone ran over your cat. What are you going to do with it? Like that is ultimately what it's about. But at the same time, I think there's another bucket, which I still don't know what to do with this bucket, when like the bucket that does matter. So like the bucket where I'm trying to think of how to word this. Um, like I think life is both and in everything. I think
Sure.
um it's all about me, but then it's all about we, and then it's all about you. And I think the different buckets could be just that: we, me, and you. I don't know. Um I do think it doesn't matter, but at the same time I think it really matters. Like I have a hard time, like I've known parents who have a child who is in the cancer ward, and like you can't say that that doesn't matter. And I know you would never say that. I'm not putting those words in your mouth. I'm not saying you ever implied that. um because I totally get what you're saying, and I do agree with it 100%. um but like shit matters, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know. It's a really unformed thought in my head,
Well,
but I
let,
hope
let,
something of that made sense.
let's go a little deeper into the dive just a bit. Okay. The current pandemic. Okay.
Okay.
That's a good example of both, right? So, current pandemic. No one, it's essentially whatever you might think. I'm not going to go down the conspiracy bucket today. It's not, that really doesn't matter. What matters is this: we are in a pandemic. No one asked for this. No one expected it. No one wanted it. So for me, I've said this on other shows, my come to Jesus moment with the pandemic was the first week in Vancouver. I was still working at Purelator. I was contemplating what to do and how to do it, and I remember like watching the city just evaporate, like I've never, like downtown Vancouver empty is a sight I never thought I'd see. You know what I mean? I never thought I'd see it. But yeah, here it
Totally.
was happening, right? So on one hand, I had no control over what was going on. Like no one did. No one did. And I remember one night I'm coming home from work and I'm still taking the trains. Trains are still running, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to get some food because it's late night. It's A&W, but it's also a pandemic. I don't know if I'm going to be able to like eat or anything like that, right? So on the way, I met this. I'm going to assume was homeless, just the way he was dressed and stuff like that, and I could be wrong about that. It's entirely a possibility. But he asked me if I had something like this, right? Something like this. I didn't. I asked him no, and he's like, oh, well, no problem, dude. And we were about to go wish each other a good night, and then he held his hand out like this, fist bump. And for just a moment, I hesitated. And I made and then right then and there, I just realized how cruel this time in history would be. Because it's like, you ask yourself, like, if you fear contact, one of the most essential things human beings need. I mean, what is life going to be about going forward? And it just seems so cruel in that moment. And I realized, and like I said, I'm still a little mad at myself that I hesitated. I ended up just bumping him because I just said to myself, and then the decision I made was, well, this is how I'm going to be kind to everybody, and I'm going to figure out how that works out in this time for each and every person, and for everybody it's a little different, right? Now that we're going into vaccine mandates, I'm making other decisions now. And like I said, some of those decisions may not be what a lot of people agree with. But I also got to think about what's right for me and what's right in my heart and what's the correct way to do things. And the pandemic itself was beyond my control. Nothing I could do about it. All I could choose is how I was going to be around people. Going forward, though, a lot of what's coming next is about who I'm going to want to, is asking the same question in a different way. Who am I going to want to be in this time? And where is that going to go from here? And so that's where it's both. I have decisions I have to make, and and either way I make those decisions, I have consequences I'm going to have to live with, good, bad, or indifferent. So I gotta choose who I am in this time. That's all there is to it. Good. Again, and I think that's a good example of both. Right? There are things beyond my control that I can choose. I can choose how I react to them. And then there are decisions that I'm going to have to make in this time, and I'm going to choose which decisions I'm going to make. And either way, I'm going to have to live with the consequences. And I think that's the important, and I think that's as important as all of which to say is I think your choices matter no matter what. But the fact that we are in a pandemic, in big grand scheme of things, the fact that I have no control over that doesn't matter. What matters is what I do in this time. The fact that the world's making whatever rules it's going to make, in one sense, that's not important either, because everything is temporary. Everything in its time, and everything will go in its time. What matters is what I do in those situations, what choices I make, what responsibilities I'm willing to assume, because that's what's going to make me me, right? And that is, and again, if you believe in God, if when I come into contact with the Almighty, when it's all said and done, this is what we're going to talk about, I think, more than anything else, right? These are the decisions you made, and I think that might be maybe the biggest test of life. I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
So going back to what I was talking about, where it matters but it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
using your example with the guy with the pen, it mattered that he didn't have a pen, but at the same time, it didn't matter that he had a pen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm more talking about. Like, at the end of the day, tomorrow, the world's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. But at the same time, in that moment, he needed the pen, whatever that is. It's a very loose, I'm sure there's holes in that, like, metaphor as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also, like, you can even take it a step further. Like, it mattered that you talked to him, but it didn't matter that you talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
You gave him a piece of humanity that, for argument's sake, if he is someone who struggles with homelessness, he doesn't get that regularly, let alone in a pandemic. You know, like, that's like another, like, I probably should have turned this off like a long time ago. That's better. Oh, nope, that's not that light. Okay. Anyways, like, did it matter in a sense that you talked to him? No. But at the same time, you talking to him, giving him a fist pump, giving him time, giving him whatever, it might not have been like super life-changing, but it was a moment in his life where he was reminded that he has value, you know? So, like, even though it didn't matter, it actually did. That's what I was talking about. You know, like, does it matter that it's me on this podcast with you today? Yeah, probably not. But at the same time, it does matter because I'm your sister and I know this means a lot to you and this is fun for me. Do you know what I mean? It could have been anyone. You have lots of people that would have loved to have been here with you, drawing with you and stuff. But this is how it worked out. Does it matter? Yeah. But at the same time, no. But at the same time, yeah.
What do you think?
I like those. I like that. That's my favorite. I like that.
I'll send you a picture of it. It's actually the last drawing in the book too. It literally.
Oh, that's funny. Is your book broken?
Yeah, it broke literally when I drew this. It's literally made it to the last page. I'll just tape the back cover. I'll take that last page off and just tape the back cover back on. Some people's children.
Seriously. That's fine. If I have spiral bound sketchbooks, they never hold together. I stopped buying spiral bound, and because we're related, I will probably recommend the same thing for you because I feel like we both have the same gentleness when it comes to stuff. Don't do spiral bound. Always get a hardback book, whatever.
I will.
Hardbound.
I will.
But
yes, it was many skulls. So, Tim, I'm drawing skulls today because she actually. Thank you very much, Tim. It was nice to have you come on the show and listen and vibe. It's been cool hanging out with you too, and thank you for coming. My next show is tomorrow if you want to come back, but if not, that's cool too. I'm only doing a handful of shows left before it's all said and done, before I go to the next phase. So, but yeah, nice to see you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for all your comments.
Yes. It was
funner.
Oh, it's always we would have had fun regardless. It's been fun to watch it. Sure. Take it easy, bud. Peace.
You take it easy. Stop telling me how to live my life.
But no, it's been one of those. It's been one of those days and situations where like I said, I kind of do think everything matters. Like I said, for me, I've modeled this time in my life after C.S. Lewis, because he read what would become Mere Christianity during World War II when London was being bombed. Like he was reading it on BBC, right at the heart of that, and on one hand, I thought about that. I was like, "Whoa, what an absurd thing to do." On the other hand, it's like it's the best thing to do. What a better way to say life goes on, right? And then, again, the big stuff, I almost say doesn't matter. It's the little things that matter. It always is those little things that matter, that make life go on. It kind of makes makes life worth living.
Well, that I definitely agree with, because like going to World War II, because I am a super nerd about like reading about people's experiences in World War II. Super super nerd. And like all that shit happened, and if there's a more tumultuous word than shit, like please put that in there. There's plenty of them, I'm sure, but shit is what came to my head. Um, but then you hear the little stories about humanity. Like I have a collection of Holocaust books. And one of them I love the kids' books of them. And there's one called The Magician of Auschwitz. And I haven't read it in a while, so I don't remember all the details. But
I've read that.
in the book, there's the child who like keeps his bread under his pillow at night because he wants to save it for the morning, and someone steals it because they were hungry. And this kid wakes up, and the magician of Auschwitz, I think he did a magic trick, and then you talk to him about like, you can't really be angry at these people even though they did something really hard for you, because we're all going through something hard. And like very Cole's Notes, very butchering. Like it's a really cool book. And like it's those stories, or the stories of like the liberation, when like one of the first things, I can't remember like how this came up, and I don't remember if it was Auschwitz or which camp it was. But the first thing that they did for a lot of the women was they gave them lipstick, and it just restored that piece of humanity in them.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's those little things that I think, like at the end of the day, if you're wanting to talk about like when you're like in heaven or wherever, like chatting with God or wherever, those are the things that you're going to reflect back on life. It's not the fact that you went through a pandemic, it's the fact that like you chatted with a man about a pen, or like one of my favorite highlights right now about being a flight attendant is like I'm the person that's taking people to reunite to their families, and it's really fucking cool. Just to hear their stories, or like to watch like grandma like tell me about like meeting her grandchild for the first time in real life, giving her grandchild a hug for the first time, or like mom with her child going to the Maritimes because they've been like secluded, and going to introduce her child to her parents for the first time, right? Like that's the stuff that you're going to remember. Obviously, you're going to remember, like, I mean, it's been for everyone, it's been super lonely. Like, I live alone, and it's really fucking sucked. I moved, as you did, across the country. You moved in the beginning of the pandemic. I moved like 8 months, 9 months beforehand, not thinking a pandemic would ever happen, that I'd
Yeah.
have my job, that I'd be able to stay connected with all my people, even though I live far away, perks of being flight crew. And that got cut off. And then I was by myself in Mississauga for 10 months or however longer than that. But like until I started flying. I got laid off in April, and then the following year in June is when I got back. So that's when my normal started to really kick back in. I mean, I was lucky in that like when I worked for Canada Post, like I met a couple friends. And when I worked at the marijuana farm, I met like a really good friend. And even at school, like I met someone already that I'm like, I feel like we're gonna be friends long term. But like, so I'm lucky in that sense. But I also had friends that were in this area ish. Like the closest friend I have is a half-hour drive, and they were like, we're not seeing anyone right now. And I had to like stick it out by myself in my apartment alone. And I'm like, this sucks, you know? Of course, I'm gonna remember that shit too. But what's really gonna matter to me, I think, in the long run is like the fact that I had a supervisor that sang happy birthday to me. The fact that um, I had a friend in Australia pass away this year, and I was at work. I was at home when I found out, but I went to work that day anyways because I was like, yeah, this stuff doesn't usually hit me right away, whatever. And I broke down, bawling my fucking eyes out in the middle of my shift. And my one colleague came up and gave me the biggest hug. And I'm like, that is going to matter to me. That is what I'm going to look back on. It's not just that I got a hug, but I got a hug in the middle of a pandemic because I mattered. That moment mattered. And like someone broke that boundary, to have a human act with me. That's the stuff that we're going to really remember.
So for me, I think the thing I'm proudest doing in this whole time, I've been quietly doing like these voice messages to different people throughout the pandemic. Just I appreciate you post. it's been cool to watch just people light up, even if they're not from a distance. What I'll never forget, a guy in Vancouver, and he goes to me, well, what is this? I'm like, dude, just a message I sent you. Don't worry about it. Just it's 30 seconds. It just listen to it whenever you need to listen to it. And he goes to me, oh, I thought it was some kind of hacker attack. And I just looked at him and said, I am so glad I don't have to think like that. And he listened to it. After he's like, dude, I felt so much better listening to your message. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, that might be the most important thing I did this whole time. It may not seem like a big thing, but that's what I've done for practically everybody. And the responses have been incredible. Some of them have been absolutely like just really cool. And it's just like I said, just what can I do in this time, and who am I going to be in this time? That's the important stuff, because it's. I learned this in my time in Arizona. Your character is truly tested when you face adversity. So,
Yep.
who did I want to be in this time? I didn't want to be someone that was cruel or callous or righteous. Just someone that gave a shit. That's all I really wanted to be. And I mean, right, wrong, and different doesn't matter. Just someone that cares, and someone that's just there for people that they need a kind word here and there. That's it. That's all I wanted to be in this time. One of the reasons I'm leaving, going to Calgary, is like, for me, it's been very difficult to make a connection here. Like, I don't mind Jeff, and I don't mind like Reinhardt's cool, but
well, you need people your own age.
Yes, and that's been pretty hard. Like, and also I'm just I'm in a weird place in my life, and that, again, I'm definitely going self-employment, and I don't think I'm ever looking back. And here, at least for me, everybody I ran into is very content. And again, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with having a career that you're happy with, working for a job. But that's not me.
Right.
It's just not me. So finding people that are driven to do their own stuff and being around that again, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Even though I know it's gonna be a lot different this time, but I'm still going to be around that to some degree, and I'm looking forward to having that again.
Well, and you'll find more people there too, right? Like, I mean, you and I both have left and come back to Calgary, or left and come back anywhere really, and it's different. It's always different, but no matter where you go, like what you need will find you. Do you know what I mean? So like, when you go back to Calgary, you want people that are more like-minded, entrepreneurial, whatever, like you're gonna find that. You're gonna stumble upon those people. Like-minded people just attract. It's just the way it is. Going back to your comment on how during the pandemic, like you've reached out to people and left voice messages for them. I think like ultimately, I mean, I'm sure like people have commented on them and stuff, but to me, the thing that's the most interesting thing about COVID is like the whole thing about COVID is like its ability to isolate. And I feel like in every way, like it just doesn't stop isolation, like whether you vaccinate or you don't vaccinate, there's a potential to be isolated, and like I live in Mississauga, so like we were in isolation mode for like from November until April or May. We weren't allowed like to even go shopping for underwear at one point, and I was like, this is ridiculous.
That was here too.
Yeah. And so for me, I just like my biggest thing, I'm not as vocal about the stuff I do, but like it has been about like creating human moments for people. And not necessarily people that I know, even it could be like even in grocery stores or like just something. Like that was one of my favorite things actually about being a letter carrier is people forgot for a second that there was a pandemic going on while I was walking around and whatever. And I think for some people, I was the only person that they would see, especially if they were a bit older and, whatever, and they would forget. And I think like there's just that need for connection. And I think I understand like depending on your side of the camp, obviously, but the need for something for our bodies to help with COVID. whether you believe it's the vaccine, whether you believe it's medication, whether you believe it's vitamin D, like our bodies clearly need some sort of help or something anyways. But I think the other side of it, the other cure, if you will, is connection, whatever that looks like. And the more that we can build connection in the world, the healthier, the better hope for healthy that we'll have. Because like the first thing that occurred to me when COVID happened was like, this isn't just about isolation anymore. Like so many people are going to go through PTSD from this time. Like
Mm-hmm.
even so being flight crew, like I have the privilege obviously of going other places, and even like visiting Alberta, for example, when Alberta was mask free, and just like listening to other crew members talk about like their like trauma. Like I see all these people and I see all their faces and they don't have masks on and I don't understand, you know? And I'm just like, no matter where you are on that like spectrum, that's irrelevant, but it's just the fact that like we're all going to have to adjust again at some point to whatever our new normal is, or we're slowly adjusting or whatever that looks like. And it's just connection, I feel like, is like the most important thing.
To be honest, that's the real pandemic. I don't like
Yeah.
in one on like legitimate. I like again. We've had this talk like in private. I'll just say this publicly. One of the reasons I'm going back for a bunch of different reasons, but the biggest one is I kind of feel like I can do the most good in Calgary. That's just like just something that inside me just says there. Whatever I do, I'll do it best there in this time. And for me, again, my own perspective is my own perspective. But I think the biggest thing is I recognize, yeah, there are. I think the PTSD, Stockholm syndrome, infection of fear, whatever you want to call it, that it, to me is far scarier than COVID is, regardless, because I see the damage it's doing,
Well, the fact
and
that people are fucking afraid of a hug. Like, and I get it. Like, I get it. Like, I do get why that fear is there. And it's not that the fear shouldn't be there or should be there. It's just the fact that a hug is so detrimental and important to us as humans. And yet now there's a fear of
mhm.
it. It just is so sad.
Well, that's just it. Like there are like, and that's the real infection, in my opinion. It's fighting for that connection. Um, and again, I've been watching what's going on in the rest of the world and kind of just seeing it. And like I said, there are things I'm definitely worried about over here. That all said, for me, that connection, that need, that want, that warmth, everything like that. I think what I bring again, what I do, just based on what I've done in the show and things of that nature, is I tend to um, I tend to bridge connections. I make connections with people from all over. I legitimately don't care in the best, as you say, the best way. I just like, who are you? What do you do? Cool, let's talk about whatever the hell we're going to talk about. Um, because I love breaking down walls. I love actually finding the person, whoever that person is on the inside. I think more than ever that's needed right now, because it's that reminder that, yeah, you know what, I guess you don't need to have these walls up all the time. You don't have to necessarily be this way all the time. And again, everybody's got their own approach and different thing, but I kind of feel like that's what's needed right now more than ever. There's a point where when the fear is truly unhealthy, and I think there's a point we're going to have to walk away from what we're doing. And the longer we do it, the more damage we're going to do to ourselves over a period of time. And I would rather, and I think the mental battle is maybe the mental or spiritual battle is more important, I think, in the long run than the physical. That's not to say that there are some dangers with the physical, but there's a point, like, I think that where, how do we want to live going forward? And we're going to have to ask that question very honestly, you know, because at the end of the day, that's the real question. And I think that is going to be, for the next 2 years, our real struggle. How do we want to live going forward? It's going to be interesting to see what happens. So
Yeah, it is. Like yeah, the pandemic. I agree with you that I don't know, like I could never negate. I've worked with too many nurses who are also flight attendants, not the only one having two careers at the same time, but
no,
one nurse that I worked with, she's like, I haven't seen this much death in my entire life as a nurse. So I was like, okay, well that means something to me for sure. So I can't
no,
confidently say um, like the illness of COVID isn't a pandemic, but I can confidently say that it almost feels like there's like two simultaneous pandemics going on at the same time. And my hope is like um, that like this in some ways brings us as humanity back to basics. Like it's not about, the car you drive or whatever. It's about who you share dinner with at the table at night or at Thanksgiving or at Christmas or who you fly to see when you have those 3 days off with nothing planned for work. Um, yeah, connection, at least for me, like that has been hugely emphasized over and over again in the
yeah.
last while, which is like, yeah,
No,
connection's
I,
everything.
I get it. Yeah, that's going to be the real thing going forward, I think. And that's, it, it's who you want to be in this time. And again, it's about the choices that matter. And again, adversity builds character. And you'd have at some point, I think, we got to be honest about what we want and where we're going. And that's just me. I've been thinking about this for a very long time. And yeah, it's just 2022. At this point next year, I'm hoping we're not in this position. I'm hoping we're in a better one. And
Oh, sweet Jesus, me too. I would do
yeah,
anything to be in a different situation. That is for sure.
yeah. At that, if we are in the same situation, I think at that point we have a little come to Jesus with the way we've been doing things. But that's me.
I would hope so as well, because I'm like, if it's not changing, if it's not getting better, clearly we're not doing something right. But
Yep.
that's my not so humble opinion.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's where we'll leave it. I've had some very interesting conversations that don't need necessarily go that way. But what I am curious is, what have you been drawing?
Hmm. All right. Well, I am using a big sketchbook, so bear with me as I try to struggle. Not everything was successful. This was my first doodle. Oops. There we go.
Okay.
And I liked how it ended. It kind of reminds me of like a sunrise or a sunset. So I kind of just left it there. Sticking more with abstract today, that's for sure. Then I did this one, which I don't like, so I gave up on it. There we
Why
go.
don't you like it?
Although now that I see, pardon?
Why didn't you like it?
I didn't. So I'm using markers like special. Oh, there's my there. Like the double tip, whatever alcohol markers, and I'm not good with them per se. Like they're actually really cool because you can shade and things like that. See if I can find a picture. Like some of them I do, I'm like, oh, this is actually really cool. And some of them that I do, I'm like, wow, if no one ever saw that, I would be okay with that. Uh, Hence why you have sketchbooks. So, like this was me, uh, like this was one that I drew with them that I didn't mind. Although she looks like she's sitting on a pickle, so that's kind of weird.
Yeah, kind of on a pickle, but that's whatever. It's all good.
I think it was supposed to be like more like a surfboard or something like that, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
or a pickle. Okay, cool. Well, color choice is everything was the lesson I learned with that. This was another one that I drew that I really liked. So the black and white checkers in the background is a Sharpie marker, but everything else, I think all the black is Sharpie marker actually, but all the colors, the alcohol markers. And then there's another one that I'm looking for that I actually really like. I can't find it, which is really frustrating. It was the very first one I did, which is super frustrating when, like, you know how, like, you learn a game and you're like, oh, I'm fucking good at this game. Because the first game you win, and then after you're like, no, I actually really suck at this game. So that's what it's like with the alcohol markers, is I'm like, oh, I'm really good at these. I'm like, no, I'm really not. A couple YouTube tutorials will help. So then I thought I should probably draw a skull, so I started this one.
All right, that's
But
a cool
it's just
skull, but
the
I don't know if I
beginnings of a
call that a
skull.
butterfly skull.
Well, I mean, you can see, like, the yellow is the head. So my good friend Rich, I asked him, like, his tricks and tips to drawing. Because, like we talked about Tim earlier, I generally don't use something that you can erase.
Mhm.
And I think a standard in the artist world, which I've never been taught, mostly self-taught, so that could be why too. And all the drawing courses I did, we always did like pencil or drawing pens, like the black ones. We never used color, so that's probably why as well. But Rich told me, he's like, what you do is you start with a lighter color, like a yellow or something like that, and then you go over that with a darker color, like to do your corrections, and then you go over that with the proper colors. You know, like you do like 2 or 3 layers of lighter colors that are easily covered up with anything. So yellow, you know, like green, like blue, pink even. Because a lot of colors will, like, the only thing that really won't cover it is, like, yellow obviously won't cover a light blue or anything like that. So I guess you got to be a little bit careful. But by the time you make it to the light blue, like, you've already established, like, this is where the sun is and where the yellows are. So you're obviously not going to put your blue in the middle of that. Yeah, so you draw with a lighter color and then you color over top. So that's what I was trying with that one. So it's just, I mean, I just haven't had the time to finish it yet. That's all.
Huh.
So yeah.
So yeah, I did. So you saw my pictures. So hey, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
It's been an interesting journey. It's been almost a year since I started drawing really seriously.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's crazy.
I finished the book.
It's only been 6 months for me, so.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, good times.
Miss talented, maybe slightly bigger egoed sister.
Probably do have a slightly bigger ego, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, we never.
Not the size that matters, Josh. So they say.
You know, we never talked about that. Ah, yes, the cards. I didn't even. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you're watching here, really quick. So, our when we play cards, and we do play cards, so the back of them have the words "fuck" on them, all different ways. You can maybe see it there, right? So
that's all my writing, by the way, because it's my favorite word. And not because I'm a sore loser, but because it's my favorite word.
Mm-hmm. So, my personal favorite though is, like, you know, when she actually writes stuff like the Joker. Like,
yeah, mine don't have that.
No.
I need to upgrade them.
Yeah. Or my other personal favorite, or my other personal favorite for anybody watching, Ray's favorite. Therefore, it must be.
Must be mine. Spadalicious.
So her love of aces is so epic that I actually have to, when I play her, work my style slightly around the fact that she will go for aces like candy.
Like oxygen, really. Like oxygen.
Yeah.
Like candy.
I will literally. Yeah. So my least favorite, little known secret, my least favorite hand is when I ever actually see multiple aces in my hand, because it's like, it's gonna be like pulling teeth to get another ace out of her, unless I get like 3 in my opening hand, and in which case I'm good. But which happens.
Then you got my hand. Yes. It's for anyone that, whatever, Josh and I play Rummy a lot together. We play Rummy because Josh has a chance of winning. If we play Crib, he never wins.
Virtually never.
Crib is...
Virtually.
Never. Never. Crib is one of my all-time favorite games. I always joke that I'm an old person in training because, like, I love Crib, I love Scrabble. I like things that old people
It-
like. I should hang out
she's a
in a
gamer. The only
geriatric
thing
center.
is, I'm gonna let people. So, although she will deny it, my yeah,
Oh, sorry, you're censored. That's weird. How did
yeah,
that happen?
yeah.
I didn't
So
know they
she'll
censored you on
deny it.
here.
My favorite
What?
part playing Rachel is when she wins. Her
I'm a
reactions when she
good
wins
loser.
and her reactions when she loses are both amazing. I take.
I'm the most stoic person I know. I don't know what you're talking about. Super stoic.
Sometimes it's like you can literally see it on her face. It just like I cannot
Super
put
stoic.
into
You can't.
words.
No. I'd be the best poker player.
I think you'd be a great poker player, actually. But I for you, it's your ability.
That what you don't realize what you're looking at, people. This is the only time I'm ever admitting such things in public, so feel privileged for whatever. My brother's gonna reference this now for the rest of his fucking life. That is the scorecard that I ripped up when I lost. Jokingly, I wasn't angry, but like my joke with my brother is that I always win because there's no scorecard evidence of me losing. That might be why they might get disposed of in. I mean, there's not a lot of liquid left in there, but you know, like you're not gonna go fishing in that. It's COVID germs. To get it out to tape it together again. Like it's done, right? Like
So my favorite
if I'm destroying evidence, like it's fucking destroyed. Fucking destroyed.
my favorite part is that
Stoic.
she gets like a look on her face. She gets like this look on her face when she's about to do something. You can just see it on her face every time. That's again, little things matter, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't care about the score. What I really care about is the reaction at the end of the game. I do not cry most of the time. Most of the time. I am gonna miss you though.
I'll miss you too.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, I'm not giving up flying anytime soon. I just won't be having layovers for the next year, but I'll be back in Calgary. You know I will.
Well, I'll definitely see you around, and you know, like I said, it's going to be an interesting year, I think, coming up. But regardless of what, again, I've said it many times. Regardless of where I am or where I be, you're always welcome, and I love you. So,
yeah, I'd let you sleep in my car.
Yes, you would.
Yes. If you needed a place to stay, you can. Not my couch, my car. I'm kidding.
Love ladies and gentlemen, like that.
Aw, he loves me.
So,
no, like I mean, like really, who would have planned all of us being in Ontario at this time together, you know, and like, who knows where my life is gonna go? Who knows where your life is gonna go? Like, it's all.
It's gonna be
we might live together, close together again soon. We will never live together, but we might live close together sometime again soon. You never know.
It's possible. Like I said, if I figure out how to get to Hawaii, I know I'm gonna have to give you a key.
Yep. Yep. And all your French fries. Good chat. Okay. Actually, in Hawaii, the only acceptable thing to eat is fish tacos. If anyone goes to Hawaii and eats anything different, and pineapple, you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got. And banana bread.
I actually have friends with the Hawaiian common community over there now, so I who knows, I might end up there at some point.
What? Sorry.
The Hawaiian common community. So there are so.
Are they in Oahu?
Like there's some people I've met there that are amazing. I met Mar Park, who does she worked on Game of Thrones. Anvu.
Oh, nice.
So the person I'm probably going to be working with sometime next year, her name is Anvu, Anhvu. Super crazy talented person. I'm really happy with her. I've met people like Connie and Tori. They actually bought some art pieces from me, which I think is actually a really cool thing.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I sold my first month drawing. I actually sold my first piece of art for $5. I'm pretty proud of that. So
as you should be.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, and I think, what I can say is I'm getting better. I'm getting confident. I'm gonna have to push myself a little bit more in year two into some different things, but and I will. But beyond all that, no, like I'm enjoying it. You're definitely gonna see more stuff illustrated from me, and I never thought I'd say that a year ago.
Fair.
Yeah. So you're in school for the year. So maybe it's a little early. It's probably way too early to ask this, but I want to ask this anyway. First week, is there anything that's kind of like spoken to you and said like this is what I want to do with the stuff, or has that come? Are you still kind of just exploring things?
I won't know that for a while, I don't think.
Okay.
The benefit of the first week has been that it's confirmation that I'm in the right spot and I'm doing the right things. Just the fact that like there was one class where the teacher kept asking questions and I was like, I know the answer and I know that answer too. And like, so like a little bit of history, just because many of your people don't know me. Like, I was tempted to go to school for art a long time ago. But then I got the job as a flight attendant when I was 23. I know I don't look a day older than 25, but I'm actually quite much older. And my decision at that time was, well, I could go to school for art, or, because obviously history is a big thing for me, or I could keep my job as a flight attendant. I mean, I could have done both too, but I chose to keep my job as a flight attendant and travel and learn art history that way. So like I've been to Paris, I went around Germany, all over the States, things like that. Like every time I go anywhere, I'm definitely a huge museum nerd. Like my first trip to Europe, that's all I did was museums, which I like in that way, and concentration camp. In that way, I regret it because I tried to do too much in a short amount of time. Where like I feel like you should do one or two things really well as opposed to like 10 things half-ass. But I mean, it was still really cool for me. Like to put it into perspective, I went to the Louvre and I was there for half a day, and like the Louvre is ginormous. Granted, part of that was because I landed in Paris on a Monday, and shockingly, I had no idea. In 2007, 7 or 8, when did I go? Museums are closed on Monday, so I had nothing to do on Monday and everything to do on the next couple days that I plan on being in Paris. So I had to do a lot pretty quick, but I always had interest in graphic design. I actually checked out a couple schools in Vancouver a few times, not just once, but it just never made sense to go. But my first week in school taught me that like this is where I should be. Just the fact that like I got super excited about like, again, this has happened in my past multiple times and I've known these existed, but going over like free font sites and like checking out all the different fonts, which you would be interested in this. Yesterday I was on the Adobe site, and like obviously our last name comes from the island Pantelleria.
Mm-hmm.
There's a font called Pantelleria.
There is.
It's ugly, but there's a font called Pantelleria, and I was like, well, that's cool. Almost the same as having one with our last name, but
I'm gonna give you a rabbit hole. So back when I was taking,
I mean, like, there's probably a few. I don't think that was one of the ones that they suggested, but there's a few that they suggested to us, and I went through some of them because I needed
like
one.
Fonts are a rabbit hole and a half. So I found so again, my inner like kid, I found the Gargoyles font.
See, that's fun.
Yeah, because again, we're doing design, right? So logos and stuff like that's super super important. And so one of the best ways to do it is there's literally thousands upon thousands of fonts you can go and choose and find and see, and then suddenly you're like, hey, did they ever do a Gargoyles font? You look it up. There is a Gargoyles font, and it's amazing. And it was fun. Like when you put together a project like a magazine, you realize like all these cool little bells and whistles. It's very amazing how many of them are not used at the end of the day, but it's always cool. Like it's such a normal thing when you start looking in the different various like disciplines, art worlds, all the cool bells and whistles that exist because it's part of the fun. It really is. It's part of the fun to go and see and discover just what's there.
Yeah. The websites, now that we're talking, the websites that they gave us to peruse, even though the fonts are free, they're copyright, like I can use them and the school can publish them, so that's why they gave us those specific sites.
Yep.
But I will look through that one too, because you never
Yeah,
know. But
it's one of those like rabbit hole things. Every design student at some point goes there. It's just even me. Like when I was doing it for magazines, like, oh, this font looks cool. This font looks cool. Like cursives
Mhm.
can be fun, and that's when you know you're a fucking nerd.
I'm okay with it. I've known I'm a nerd for a long time.
Yeah.
I embrace it. I don't care. I like being smart. I like learning. I like all
Yes.
those things. I like Deadpool. What else makes me a nerd?
Yes.
Lots of things. And by like, I mean I love Slightly Obsessed with Deadpool.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. So for those that wonder, like, so one year I actually bought her like a trade paperback of Deadpool stuff for like, here you go, enjoy. This is the stuff you like. My favorite Deadpool moment though is still in Marvel vs. Capcom 4 because he actually knows he's in the video game. So when he dies, he goes, "You pressed the wrong button."
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Again, it's cool. It's cool when you make a character. I still like classic Deadpool, where he's not quite that crazy, but I can still I can acknowledge why they went that way, and they're having fun with him. It's kind of one of those like weird. My other favorite Deadpool story actually was in an issue of Wolverine when it wasn't Logan, but another I think a clone of him was Wolverine, a female clone of him, and so he was part of, because they're all part of the same like Weapon X like project, right? So it was almost like he was this murderous uncle that would occasionally come and visit. It was because it wasn't just the Wolverine. There was another character named Honey Badger. It's like, can you come over? Yeah, sure. And he knows Deadpool like killing people. So give me about 20 minutes. I'll be there in about 20 minutes, right? Yeah. And no, it's like the weirdest. It's like, this is like, I feel like there's such a bonding level, even though this mass destruction is going around with these two characters. It's like, it's almost like, you know, a good uncle babysitting like, you know, troublemaking kid. It's almost cute. It's like, wow, Deadpool can actually be cute. Who knew?
Yeah. I did, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Door open, walk through.
Yeah, all the way. So I wish we could talk longer. Unfortunately, I do have some things to do. I got to finish an ad for my next sponsor. I have to do that tonight. I have to do a few other things tonight as well.
Oh, good. I have to wake up in 6 hours to go flying. So
yeah, so we should probably
less
wrap
than
this
6
up.
hours.
So just real quick,
and I drank 2 of these, and I really have to pee. I've had to pee.
Okay. So before you go and pee and whatever the case may be.
You're all welcome.
Yeah, it's okay. Whatever. It's like I talk about everything on this show. It's I mean, honestly, it's the least shocking thing I want to.
This is like one of the, for some of these people though, this is the first time they've met me. We might not be on that level, but now we're on that level.
Oh yeah, we are on that level. That's right. This is why you're going to be friends with her. That's why Tim is probably friends with Rachel now.
Yeah, we're already friends on Facebook.
Yeah. I figured. So I do ask this. I always ask, like, if you guys want to promote something. I don't know if you have a webpage or anything like that where you want to kind of push anything at all. If you want to, this is kind of the place, or where people can find you if they want to hang out with you. Like, even if it's just your Instagram.
Yeah, so I have 2 Instagrams. It depends on like which one you'd want to follow. My everyday life stuff, which pretty much is my gecko, who we didn't talk about. I'm a terrible like pet owner. It's one of my favorite things. He's super cute. His name is Chester. Side note on that, the reason why his name is Chester, when I was driving home with him in the front seat of the car, he was in a cage. Don't worry, he was safe. buckled in probably because I was like, oh my god, I'm like I'm responsible for this life. Uh, uh, Lincoln Park came on, and I was like, oh, Chester. Chester would be a cute name for him. And then the first few times I check him out, he kept jumping at my boobs, and I'm like, dude, you just named yourself Chester. So that's why his name is Chester. There's a few pictures of him. No, true story. A few pictures of him. Plants. Definitely like plants. Pre-COVID, liked plants. It was not a COVID hobby, but I do kind of live in a jungle, and I love it. And just like travels and stuff. My username on that one is Unveiled Wisdom, spelled exactly how you'd want to spell it. No, no spaces, no whatever. Just Unveiled Wisdom. Super simple. Yep. And then my other one is for my film photography because I legit actually prefer film over digital. I haven't updated in a while, but I just got 73 rules of film back recently, so I'm in the middle of scanning them all and in school, so be a bit patient. But it's Rae, Rae underscore O'Graph. And that's it, Rae O'Graph. Yes. So, the reason why that's clever, because everyone needs to know this. So whenever you do a darkroom course, the first thing you do is a rayograph. And what the rayograph is like you have a piece of paper, like the photo paper down, and you put things on top of it. So like usually things that are like either glass or like plastic. So like the light kind of shines through and diffuses and makes shapes and whatever. Wasn't prepared, so I don't have one beside me, but I do have some. I love them. And then you shine the light down, so like the paper turns black because the light makes it black. But then, like cassette tapes, for example, are really cool to put on there because then they look all funky and stuff. And anyways, that's a rayograph. So the fact that like rayograph on Instagram was still available for me, I was so excited. Again, I'm super stoic, so you would not have known. But yeah, that's why it's rayograph. Is out of that. It's actually quite an ingenious name. I had a smart moment. I was super grateful for it. But that's where you can find a lot of my film photography stuff that I love to post. I'll have lots soon, hopefully, because life of a student and a full time whatever. Yeah, I'll have lots of time to do it.
So I guess the next time you come back on the show and we do another drawing thing, it'll be a Deadpool night.
Oh no, because I will butcher that.
That'll be
I'll be
fantastic, though.
embarrassed.
Yeah, why not? I'll draw Deadpool, and if I'm not afraid to draw Deadpool, you shouldn't be afraid to draw Deadpool either.
I'm not afraid to draw Deadpool, but like I have a thing about drawing people that I like. I just won't do it because you start to nitpick and like I get I okay, so I know I can do realism, but I don't do realism super well because I'm not very practiced in it. Uh Not that Deadpool's realistic. I'm sure if I looked at a picture of him in the comic book, it'd be somewhat okay, but I just like for like figure drawing and stuff, like I never wanted to draw someone that I knew because you just start to notice everything. Uh and I feel like with Deadpool that'll be my excuse.
I see. So my experience doing figure drawing in the last year, cartoon stuff, surprisingly easier than I expected. Do you know what actually kicked my ass? What legitimately, there's two things that legitimately kicked my ass. I didn't expect either of them to do it. Lego and
Okay.
and Jigglypuff.
I don't know what Ghibli is, but Lego makes sense to me because perspective is actually really hard. And to do Lego properly, you would have to like you would almost have to be a real like drawing nerd about it, I would think, and have a vanishing point on your page or two and do it properly that way. And
It,
then it
it,
would
it,
probably be okay.
it's that, but it's also just the fact that the faces are so specific. Like the expression is so absolutely 100% like legit. Like you don't have it, it's not Lego, right? And you would think that would be easy, but it's not. Right? It's actually not. It was like I was really surprised about that. It's like this seems easy. It's Lego. How hard can that? Blank, 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 blank. I just got my ass beat. And that's for Jigglypuff. It's two very simple circles, and it's the eyes. I screwed up the eyes something really bad. Anyway.
I would challenge you to a Lego drawing for sure. I feel like I could do that. I mean,
Lego
we can do
Deadpool?
Deadpool, it's fine. I just, like, just something sacred about drawing something that you love. Granted, I did draw Dr. Seuss. I've liked Dr. Seuss a lot longer than you like Dr. Seuss. But I like his
I've drawn
actual
Dr.
art.
Seuss on the air already. Thing 1, thing 2.
Yeah, I know.
I've
Can I
done the
show you
Grinch.
when I drew Dr. Seuss what it looked like? Because I'm a brat. Can I show you? Yeah? Okay, cool. So you remember RJ, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
So RJ, when he had his first son with his second wife, I was like, what are you guys doing in the baby room as? And he's like, well, we're thinking of doing Dr. Seuss. And I was like, you're doing Dr. Seuss, and I'm doing the mural on the wall. And he was like, okay, weirdo. No, he didn't say that. He was like, okay. Anyways, so when I got there, he had the sky and the ground done for me, and he had all the paint colors. And I did that freehand. So he wanted a Horton, so Horton's there. Obviously, oops, sorry, this is really hard. There's a Lorax. I wanted like a couple of the random characters. Obviously, this is like there's only one fish on the wall, and like where the little green eggs and ham dude is, that's where the crib was. But it was like a giant wall, and it was like one of the funnest things I've ever done. And then they sold the house, and I'm like, well, I hope that person really likes Dr. Seuss, because that was 25 hours of my life right there. But it was so much fun. I'd do it again.
No, so I did the Grinch, and I've done thing 1, thing 2. I've done a few other things.
I did see thing 1, thing 2. I probably saw the Grinch too, actually.
Yeah, the Grinch, I figured out the secret to the Grinch was his smile. That's the secret to the Grinch.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely would be.
Yeah, it's a secret to the Grinch. You figure out his smile, you can do him anytime, any way you want. It doesn't matter. His smile is the same. And especially if you want to do a Seuss-style Grinch, it's the exact same. It's so simple that it's like, I figured it out. It's like, yay, I figured it out. Right? And I actually did that with Maud Park. Actually, the person I told you about, like, she was like, yeah, it was fun to draw with her.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but no, like 25 hours of your life for doing a Dr. Seuss room. It's good to know at some point down the road when I ever do a Dr. Seuss in front of an audience again, you'll have to be there.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, folks. I could talk to my sister all night. This is Rae Hope Pantalleresco, artist extraordinaire. Mm-hmm. So anyway, listening to this, I want to first talk about my sponsors real quick. The Golem by Paul Oliva, PD Oliva, is available now. You could definitely buy it. Check the link below in the episode description if you want to actually do it. Also, Wiggers, The Well-Dressed Wombat by Jenna Green is out November 8th. Check out jennagreen.ca for more details and information. As for the rest, well, if you want to support this podcast, hit the like, follow button on twitch.tv/justjoshingpodcast. My show on YouTube is Joshua Pantalleresco. Hit the like, follow, subscribe there. Beyond that, my book, Alice 1, will be out December 1st. You can actually see a free preview of the first 2 chapters on my website, jpantalleresco.wordpress.com. Beyond all that, guys, stay inspired, keep shining in the dark. I have a fun guest tomorrow. And I only got to do 2 episodes next week, but they'll both be good. I want to thank Rachel again for coming on my show. Love you, sis. You guys have yourself a wonderful, wonderful night.